I think it's all around us all of the time.
We're involved in every aspect of society.
I think we don't always recognise the impact of chemical engineers on modern life.
When you think about the food we eat, every time we turn on the tap, we take for granted that the water that comes out of the tap is clean and safe to drink.
I think it's really important to stop and take notice of how engineering really makes a difference to us.
Chemical engineers are ambitious, they're big picture thinkers, they're problem solvers.
They speak the languages of physics, of chemistry, of mathematics, of computer science in a way that a lot of the other disciplines don't.
We're great custodians of the past, whilst also being creators of the future.
The future of the world is uncertain. There's lots of things changing.
Chemical engineers are fundamental to everything that we face as a society and as a world.
We are actually, as a profession, at an unprecedented time.
Health security, energy security, even global security itself.
A time of real change.
We are facing big challenges like climate change.
Everything cascades down from having a reliable and clean energy supply.
It's actually chemical engineers that are uniquely placed to be able to replace those processes with more sustainable processes.
We have huge opportunities to contribute to the energy transition and also to nurture and advance skills in this particular area.
Chemical engineering is an incredible and important and exciting profession.
Chemical engineering is an inherently exciting profession. It can take you anywhere in the world and into many, many different industries and down different paths.
I'm pleased to be an engineer because of our intrinsic and inextinguishable belief that there is always a better way and that we continuously strive to create a better future.
A graduate process engineer at BP and chair of the IChemE National Early Careers Group for UK and Ireland.
My name is Jordan Shadunka Elliott. I'm a process engineer at Amentum UK and a chartered member of the IChemE. We are your hosts for today, and we're very excited to be here, sharing the event with our global audience, both in person and through the power of live streaming.
This evening is not just a handover of an impressive chain and title. It's a chance to shine a light on 4 trailblazers whose impact stretches far beyond borders and disciplines. We are delighted to welcome the 85th President of the Institution of Chemical Engineers, Dr. Ollie Folayan, and say hello to our new Deputy President, Professor Joan Cordner.
We will also be saying a huge thank you and a fond farewell to the 84th President, Professor Raffaella Occoni, after a very busy presidential year, and also a heartfelt thanks to the retiring immediate past President, Mark Apsey.
Before we begin, we must go through some housekeeping for those of you joining us here in the spectacular Burlington House in London. We are not expecting a fire drill today, so in the unlikely event of a fire alarm, here is what you need to know. Evacuate through the nearest and safest fire exit. Do not use the lifts and do not stop to gather personal items. Make your way directly to the fire assembly area, which is the statue of Sir Joshua Reynolds in the courtyard, and please ask if assistance is required. We are broadcasting this evening's proceedings online, and a recording will be made available via the IChemE website and our YouTube channel, so please subscribe so you don't miss out. Once the formal part of the evening is concluded, we would like to invite everyone here with us to a drinks reception in the area outside this room, where you can meet the presidential team and network with other guests. Apologies to those of you joining us remotely. We'd happily share the drinks and nibbles if AI had cracked that one by now.
Soon, very soon. Now, let's get down to our primary business. While this evening is about welcoming our new president, Ollie Folayan, and hearing about his ambitions and priorities for the institution during his presidential year, it is also about saying a big thank you to the outgoing president, Raffaella Oconee. Raffaella has worked closely with Yvonne Baker, CEO, the Board of Trustees, and the staff team to embed a renewed focus on enhancing the member experience, ensuring that every voice was not only heard, but valued. Raffaella, would you please join me on stage? When Raffaella Oconee became president a year ago, she inspired those working in and contributing to chemical, biochemical, and process engineering worldwide to drive meaningful change, both locally and globally, through a multi-scale chemical engineering approach. Thanks to Raffaella's unwavering enthusiasm and commitment to engaging with a diverse range of members all across the globe, the IChemE has continued to make strong, positive progress. Through the introduction of the updated Code of Conduct and Ethics, Raffaella has been a vital advocate and ambassador for our members, leading by example in upholding ethical principles and ensuring they remain visible and active in practice. Raffaella also spearheaded our efforts to bring our profession into national conversations, highlighting the importance of diverse routes of entry into chemical engineering and the need for adequate support for young people, early career professionals, and returners. Raffaella's call to action to IChemE members and beyond encourage people to get involved with volunteering and mentoring to inspire the next generation of chemical engineers, as well as supporting the IChemE's work with students and young people through the plethora of Discover ChemEng activity and the Young Engineers Awards for Innovation and Sustainability. We are delighted that this has encouraged many more members across our global membership to get involved. So tonight, I invite you to join me in celebrating our president, who has fulfilled her tenure with purpose, vision, and commitment to helping the institution to achieve impact. Please join me in welcoming the outgoing president of the IChemE, Professor Raffaella Oconee.
Good evening. Welcome. Actually, I was about to tell you what Jordan already said. So I think that my job is done. No, seriously, I mean, thank you, Jordan, for the very kind words. And I also would like to thank all of you for joining us tonight, and for the people who are here in person, of course, but also for the ones who are joining us online. It is a very big pleasure to be here. This is a beautiful venue. Last year I had really, even the band outside, even if I couldn't hear it, to be honest, everybody was really worrying about me being nervous, but I couldn't hear it anyway. And last year, like it has been said already, I spoke about my view about the institution as a multi-scale system, where success depends on strong connections between different levels. That perspective has guided me through my presidency. IChemE is a community that thrives when members, volunteers, staff, and leadership are connected and work together. And as it was impossible to speak to every one member individually, I focus on strengthening the space that connects members with the institution as a whole. So over the past year, I had really the privilege of visiting special interest groups, regional groups, volunteers, and those conversations that we had, they really have reinforced the importance of listening, encouraging collaboration, breaking down silos, and ensuring that members' voices are reflected in the institution priorities and activities. I also committed to maintain a strong international focus, due mainly to my beautiful Scottish accent. So I visited members and partners across our global community to listen, learn, and strengthen our relationships. So I went to Malaysia, to Australia, to Cork. I could see firsthand the enthusiasm of our members and students, and the willingness of industry partners to work with us, to work with IChemE, and to share our priorities. A key theme of my presidential year has been creating a community for everyone. And that's why we heard about widening accessibility into the profession. And in committing to continuing to support the Discover IChemE program, in 2025, we went live. The program engaged hundreds of students through hands-on activities that brought chemical engineering to life. I'm particularly pleased that it has expanded now the program into socioeconomical disadvantaged community across Northern England, Scotland, and Wales, helping to reach young people who might not otherwise encounter our profession. However, supporting the ones who are already in the profession has to come together with induce new people into the profession. And this is why we introduced our new code of conduct and ethics. And the word ethics is extremely important in the title. We wanted to have that word. Reinforcing the professional standards that underpin trust in engineering. Attraction, inclusion, recognition, and professional integrity are not separate goals. Together, they build a stronger, more diverse, and more trusted profession. Recognition also remained very important to me, and during my presidency, together with my colleagues, we launched a new series of UK conferring ceremonies to celebrate newly chartered and fellow members, recognize medal and prize winners, and acknowledge the invaluable contribution of volunteers. The institution couldn't exist without volunteers. These ceremonies showcase the excellence of our profession and are now a permanent feature of IChemE international calendar. My presidential addresses coincided also with the launch of the UK's industrial strategy, highlighting the critical role that chemical engineering plays in delivering many of its ambitions. The following day, we began discussions with colleagues across the chemistry and process industries, including the Royal Society of Chemistry, the Chemical Industries Association, and the Society of Chemical Industry, to identify opportunities for collaboration and connect these efforts with our growing policy work. Since its establishment, the policy team has expanded our engagement with government, Parliament, and key stakeholders across UK and Australasia. Through consultation, roundtables, and evidence gathering, we have brought together members, policymakers, industry leaders, and to ensure that chemical engineering expertise contributes to important national conversation. Last April, I also launched an inquiry into the health of chemical engineering research. I felt that I needed to do something for academia. And especially at this particular time, my academic colleagues in this room know how difficult the time is for our academia at this particular moment. We are now analyzing the finding, which will help shape future discussion, initiative on research, innovation, and the long-term strength of our discipline. Looking back, I realize how much we have achieved together. We have strengthened connections across our membership, expanded outreach for future engineers, enhanced professional recognition, reinforced our ethical foundation, and increased our influence in policy and public affairs. None of this would have been possible without the dedication of our volunteers and staff. Thank you all for your commitment, support, and generosity. But it's enough about the past. I'm honored and delighted to introduce our new president, Dr. Ollie Folayan. I could not be more pleased to pass the baton to Ollie. He's a passionate advocate for a more inclusive and sustainable future. And I know he will lead IChemE with vision, purpose, and care. I'm confident that under his presidency, the institution will continue to thrive. Before I finish, let me thank you once again, all of you once again, wherever you are and whatever stage of you are in your chemical engineering journey, for your trust, support, and passion over the last year. As an educator, I would like also to thank the next generation of chemical engineers whose enthusiasm and engagement continue to inspire me. The future of chemical engineering is bright, and the future of IChemE is even brighter. It has been really a privilege and an honor to serve you all. Thank you.
Can we give Raphael another round of applause, please? Welcome to all of you here in person, and of course to those joining us online. It's an honor for me to stand here today as your 85th president of the IChemE, an institution charged with the responsibility of putting chemical and process engineering at the heart of sustainable future benefiting members, society, and the environment. Thank you all for making the time and effort to be here. Thank you to Cleo and Jordan for your generous introduction, and to Rafaela, of course, for her leadership as the 84th president. I'd like to acknowledge all the support that you and immediate past President Mark Apsey have given me over the last year, sharing your ideas and thinking deeply about how the IChemE as a global community can continue to advance the rich and fertile environment of chemical engineering. I'm particularly grateful to you, Rafaela, for one small question you posed to me at an event a year ago. What, you asked, will you be focusing on during your presidency? 12 months ago, June 2026 felt like a distant speck on the horizon, but thanks to that small question of yours, I really did start thinking. As I mulled over Rafaela's question, one thought kept returning. It's a quote from the Aymara people in the Andes. The past, they say, is in front of us, and the future is behind us. It took time for the meaning to settle. The past is in front of us because it is known. We can see the future. However, is unknown. It lies behind us where we cannot see it. Let's take this library. Consider everything you see in front of you here as the past. But behind the entrance doors, outside in the corridors, coming towards us through the streets of London, are the world's future chemical engineers. The people who in years to come will be sitting where you are sitting, listening to a future president's address. If the future is behind us, then I believe the question is not what lies ahead, but who is coming next? And are we doing enough to maximize the chances of success when they get here? But I'm getting ahead of myself a bit. I need to look in front of me and describe where my journey began. In a happy, tight-knit family. There were 6 of us, my parents and 3 sisters. I tried to negotiate with my mother for a brother, but it appeared one was quite enough. My parents and the church community we belonged to instilled in us a strong set of values, the importance of fairness, community, self-belief, and hard work. Dad would make me recite this particular poem from The Ladder of St. Augustine by American poet Henry Longfellow. The heights by great men reached and kept were not attained by sudden flight, but they, while their companions slept, were toiling upward in the night. I enjoyed reading. I read books like Oliver Twist, Silas Marner, and stories from African folklore. Age 9, my imagination was captured by a novel called Mark of the Cobra by Valentin Alili. It featured an evil genius who used chemistry and solar energy to dominate the world. You'll be relieved to hear that it wasn't the evil genius bit or even the dominating the world bit that captured my imagination. It was the idea that chemistry combined with energy could reshape the world. I found myself drawn to STEM subjects. I was a child who loved to find out how things worked. We lost a couple of video recorders to my tinkering, for which I should really apologize to my sisters. Truth be told, my sister, Dr. Ollie Folayan, who's also here, who's also an engineer, was probably just as culpable. It was inevitable that I would find my way to engineering. My dad's extended family was full of engineers. He called himself engineer number 23. So my sister, Dr. Nika, who's here, and myself became engineers 24 and 25, I think. My cousin Nee, an industrial chemist, once said to me that chemical engineers were their servants. I remember thinking that there was some sort of beef between chemists and chemical engineers. In my mind, it was so bad that not even Drake and Kendrick Lamar could compete with this. In case you're wondering who Drake and Kendrick Lamar are, it must be because they're not chartered yet, so you're probably why. So I went to the University of Sheffield for my undergraduate degree and studied chemical engineering with fuel technology. This was the first time I was truly away from family. Instead, I was surrounded by people from all over the world who were very different to me. Some had grown up in rural cities, communities, others in big cities. They spoke languages and had different faiths, and some had no faith. I found it thrilling. It forced me to interrogate my beliefs and question my assumptions. This environment helped me to develop critical thinking. I remember taking a fuel technology course in my second year and reading for the first time about nitrogen oxides produced from fuel combustion. I learned about their impact and about the ways to prevent NOx from forming and removing NOx from post-combustion. So interested was I that when the opportunity came to delve deeper into the subject, I jumped at the opportunity, almost literally. Working with research fellow Bill Nimmo, who is here, Professor Bill Nimmo, and Drs. Ed Hampart-Sumian and Dr. Bernard Gibbs, my task was to save a fortune by successfully devising at pilot scale a non-catalytic way to reduce NOx from fuel combustion as effectively as the 90% reduction through the industry standard system, selective catalytic reduction. One of the first problems Bill and I found was very practical. A chart recorder we used to track NOx reduction showed the rate of reburn fuel injection was unstable. To smooth the injection, Bill advised me to tap the injection quill at regular intervals. It's at such times you take solace in Confucius' wisdom. The man who moves a mountain begins by carrying away small stones, or in this case, by tapping small quills. Thankfully, all was not lost. Years before, Dr. Martin Pitt had encouraged me to become a student member of the IChemE. The IChemE has meant different things to me at different stages of my career. At this point, publications like The Chemical Engineer were my window into an industry I was increasingly excited about. In 2002, I got my PhD in fuels and combustion at the University of Leeds and started applying for jobs in what was a very difficult time. My career began in supercritical boilers, understudying the technical authority on combustion. At Drax Power Station, I took part in critical nighttime testing to integrate boosted overfire air systems successfully, balancing high combustion and low NOx output. Soon after, I led cross-border research to secure an unfamiliar volatile organic compound guarantee for a US client. As they say, there is no rest for the wicked, and there's definitely no rest for an ambitious chemical engineer. Moving into gas, oil, and chemicals, which is my next step, I built expertise in sulfur recovery and commissioned a peak shaver plant in Glen Mavis. I worked on a European-led project in Kansas. I was then headhunted as a process engineer for a major Russian refinery design project, managing complex cracker, reformer, and hydrotreater operations to transform crude into high-value fuel. My career has taken me from the North Sea to the forefront of carbon capture and emissions reduction. In Aberdeen, I was responsible for relief valve sizing on British Gas Armada platform before going on to design a replacement flare knockout drum for Maersk Oil's Griffin floating production, storage, and offloading facility. More recently, my focus has expanded into energy transition projects, from reviewing flare systems and emergency shutdown strategies for Shetland gas plant to leading design of direct air capture systems and managing CO2 injection studies. Throughout all of these projects, I have learned some fundamental lessons. The first is that understanding engineering principles and standards and knowing how to intelligently apply them is one thing. You must bring people along with you if your idea is to succeed. I remember introducing a new project and training operators in that project. It was to do with the high integrity pressure protection system. And I remember a very experienced operator asking me why we were implementing the change. I remember listening to his questions and addressing his concerns. For a second, I wondered if I was a rational, analytical chemical engineer or Kofi Annan employing the softer skills of diplomacy to explain and reassure. The second lesson I learned was that chemical engineers already have the tools they need. We must simply work out how to use them in new ways. I was involved in a very interesting pilot scale project, converting waste plastics into hydrogen. When I studied the process flow diagram for the project, it looked like nothing and yet everything I'd ever seen before. I was familiar with the component parts, the equipment, the theory. I'd broken down coal when I worked in power generation. I was familiar with the production of syngas from biomass and organic waste. I'd never seen plastics used in this process. Pressure swing absorption is a standard process for extracting water vapor from gas to produce hydrogen, but I'd never seen it used in this particular way. In this project, we were applying familiar processes to familiar components, but in unfamiliar ways. It reminded me of a scene I'd seen in the movie Karate Kid. The kid pleads with Mr. Miyagi to teach him karate, but all Mr. Miyagi does is give him chores the kid has done all his life. Paint the fence, wax the car, sand the floor. The kids had enough of it, and he said he was packing it all in until Mr. Miyagi shows him how these familiar actions used in a different way are the fundamental components of karate. All the kid needed to do was to look at them differently to see how he could use them. In my current role as head of process engineering at Costain, I get to work on a wide range of projects. The Northern Endurance Project, gathering CO2 from emitters in the Teesside cluster. I get a peek into the design of salt caverns. I look at providing utilities for uranium enrichment equipment. I assess the feasibility of electrifying an offshore platform, and many more. Excuse the footballing cliche, but my career is a story of two halves. I spent the first half mastering the old world, becoming an expert in massive natural draft furnaces and 36 megawatt heaters. I was a person you called when a tier 1 gas plant had a complex combustion problem or a 16 million redevelopment project needed a steady hand. My world was all about heat and pressure and finding those hidden efficiencies that save you millions of pounds. But in the last decade, what we have seen has been reshaped by powerful forces: artificial intelligence and machine learning, biointegration, decarbonization, the materials revolution, and modular manufacturing. These forces are propelling us towards a cleaner, more efficient future. And I realized that the problem-solving toolkit that chemical engineers used in conventional industry is exactly what's needed to help us understand them and harness them. Let's look at AI, for example. I'm just going to go back. Imagine an automated relief valve sizing tool that passes the Turing test. For those who don't know, the Turing test is a theory by Alan Turing that a true enough, authentic machine must be indistinguishable from a human and a human judgment. So I wanted to think about a relief valve sizing calculation that is done by an AI tool. It doesn't just solve an equation, it also displays the type of engineering judgment you'd expect from an experienced process engineer. First, the AI challenges the given data. A standard calculator accepts 50,000 kilograms an hour fire load without question. AI pauses. You've listed the fire case load based on perfect insulation, but how about the north supports? Are they fireproofed? If that insulation fails, your heat input and your required flow skyrockets. I'm not sizing this until we verify the physical state of the vessel. Next, it anticipates system dynamics. Instead of treating the valve as a simple on-off switch, the AI simulates the feel of the process. It explains a standard valve here will chatter rapidly, open and shut because the upstream control valve is too slow to react. It goes on to recommend to keep the valve seat from destroying itself, let's spec a modulating pilot-operated valve that adjusts smoothly to the pressure. Next, it prioritizes maintenance over maths. A computer chooses the smallest orifice that fits the calculation. The human-like AI takes into consideration the technician standing 12 meters above the deck and suggests the maths says a J orifice works, but the entire header uses larger 3K4s. Let's spec a K so the warehouse only has to stock one spare kit and the crew doesn't need to take a different flange adapter up the ladder. AI analyzes the gray areas of ambiguous industry code. Your back pressure is 9.5%, technically within the 10% limit for a conventional valve. A dumb tool just says, go for it. And then it makes a judgment call. I'm telling you to use a bellows valve. The flare header will scale up over time, and that 0.5 safety margin will vanish in 2 years. And lastly, critically, it admits uncertainty. The hallmark of human intelligence is knowing when the model will break. The fluid properties are near the critical point and they're fluctuating. The HYSYS flash is giving me inconsistent results for two-phase flow. Before we buy this, I need a human to verify with the Omega method the calculation. I don't trust my own calculation on this specific change. The moment an automated tool stops being a calculator and starts being a peer, defending its logic and considering the messy reality of a plant, is the moment it truly passes the Turing test. But what does this type of advance mean for future chemical engineers behind us? Will some entry-level roles become obsolete? What vital new roles will be needed? Do we have the current curriculum, training, mentoring, and apprenticeships in place to meet this reality? This isn't something we can sit back and wait for. While we are sleeping tonight, AI systems will be trained on vast amounts of data, improved by thousands of engineers, and used by millions more people. Tomorrow morning, the technology will have effectively moved on again. This is a challenge we must work with now before it washes over us. The second force is biointegration. To bridge the gap between laboratory-scale biology and industrial production, chemical engineers will need to move from traditional chemical manufacturing into the application of engineering principles to biological systems. This shift is mainly due to scale-up technologies for commercial use, such as synthetic biology and bioprocessing. A primary example of this will be the translation of bench-scale discovery into something much larger. I was privileged to attend the ChemE UK conference in Birmingham last month, where I heard Dr. Will Olugu speak about these opportunities. Think of turning a new gene-edited microbe into efficient large-scale industrial processes, or the design and optimization of bioreactors that provide the precise environment, temperature, pH, and oxygen levels needed for living cells or enzymes to thrive. Take global food insecurity. The world must learn how to produce food more sustainably, and chemical engineers can help do that by working in cellular agriculture, lab-grown meat, or microbial fermentation. Get that right, and we can grow food anywhere, slashing transport costs in the UK alone. 50% of the calories we consume are imported. That's the equivalent of the meals consumed by over 30 million people per day. Biointegration can change the world. The third force is decarbonization. Apologies, I'm going to move on. Is decarbonization. Chemical engineers are becoming the Earth's caretakers. They're building giant vacuums that suck CO2 out of processes and figure out how to power the world on hydrogen and sunlight, not just oil. With the recent situation in the Straits of Hormuz, this work feels more urgent now than ever. And next, we have the materials revolution. Future chemical engineers will be the architects of this shift from traditional large-scale manufacturing to regenerative, digitalized, biointegrated systems, working with atoms as if they are tiny building blocks to create things that didn't exist before. Imagine a bridge that can heal its own cracks just as our skin does, or a phone battery that charges in 5 seconds and never wears out. We're evolving from efficiency optimization to the creation of entire circular life cycles for materials. Take processes that convert waste plastics and bio-waste into fuels, feedstocks, or fleet jackets, such as the outdoor company Patagonia, which champions environmental conservation. Lastly, modular manufacturing. Tomorrow's chemical engineers will move away from designing one-off facilities to integrating standardized, prefabricated units that can assemble in multiple combinations to accommodate multiple processes. This shift, often called Lego-like engineering, focuses on enhanced flexibility and scalability, allowing plants to pivot rapidly to new products or market demands. Modularization will mean that there are lower barriers to market entry. How will this change the business landscape and the role of chemical engineers within it? What skills will be required as a result? My role at Costain reflects some of these coming changes. It involves a shift from managing machines to managing people who will build the future. I take a team of 2 and I aim to turn them into a powerhouse of 20. For me, the process in process engineering isn't just about pipes anymore. It's about the process of evolving an entire industry, one complex study at a time. But perhaps the most important lessons I've learned have been through combining these experiences. The highs of learning and problem solving have been accompanied by challenging experiences and the lack of visible mentors. Reports by Engineering UK show, for example, that whilst 31.8% of UK domiciled engineering undergraduate qualifiers come from Black and minority ethnic backgrounds, only 9% comes from these backgrounds within the workforce. The workplace in our sectors can sometimes be a difficult place for people from underrepresented groups. This, combined with the rising cases of serious youth violence during the early years of my career, helped me understand that there was a need for role models within communities. It was a desire to find people with shared experiences who could support each other, and a desire to use the network to be mentors within communities that led my sister, Dr. Ollie Folayan, and I to found the Association for Black and Minority Ethnic Engineers in 2007. AFBE seeks to attract young people into engineering, retain talent by addressing the crucial gap between representation at university level and industry, and to develop leaders. Take Sonny, for example, a young woman who came to one of our STEM events in Scotland. She went on to study offshore and mechanical engineering at Heriot-Watt University. And when she was graduating, she contacted me for advice, and she wasn't sure what she was going to get a job in, or if she was going to get a job in the area she wanted to work in. We put her onto our transition program, which provides undergraduates with tailored interview, application, and internship support. She went on to get a permanent job at one of our partner companies and is still working in the sector. And I can tell you that gave me more satisfaction than any successful project. When I think of who is coming next, and are we doing enough to maximize the chances of success, we must take into account our current reality and the changes we can already foresee. But our conversation must go beyond stating the challenges to collectively envisioning which industries will need chemical engineers in the future. It must move to understanding where the gaps in our workforce are and where upskilling and new initiatives are needed to fill them. The profession must evolve alongside the world if we are to fulfill our promise and our potential. And that conversation must involve the public. For this to happen, the institution, whether that's business, the university, or a government department, must value diversity and inclusion, and diversity of thought, of culture, of lived experience. We must create systems to reflect this. Inclusion is at the heart of a strong infrastructure of innovation in its values, systems, and its culture. And as a result, the journey from ideas to implementation becomes faster. Innovation becomes consistent, not just because of a lucky breakthrough. Engineers, scientists, and policymakers and businesses work in connected systems rather than in silos. There's access to shared resources, which attracts investment and talent, reinforcing the cycle of growth. Skilled people stay rather than leave. If we look at our institutions, at the heart of these our own sector, diversity and inclusion are central. They are one of 4 themes of the Engineering Council's 2025 strategy. I sit on the Royal Academy of Engineering's Diversity and Inclusion Committee, and they underpin the IChemE's 2 goals to support a vibrant and thriving profession, attracting a diverse range of talent, and enabling members, organizations, and society to achieve their full potential and to serve society by collaborating with others. Over the next 12 months, I want us to keep inclusion as the drivers of innovation front and center as we dig deep into the questions of who is coming next, and are we doing enough to maximize their chances of success? How will we do this? We have a 3-point plan that prioritizes building a future for chemical engineering, making our voices heard, and embedding inclusion across IChemE. First, we will build a vision for the future of chemical engineering, articulating the key technologies, skills, and priorities that will shape the profession for the next 20 to 30 years. We'll convene public inquiries across the UK, Australasia, and Malaysia to explore opportunities and sectoral priorities in areas that include clean energy and green skills, biointegration, digitalization, the materials revolution, and modular manufacturing. We'll share our findings to impact policy, practice, and public understanding. We'll collaborate with heads of chemical engineering in the UK and Australasia, the Royal Academy, and others to build on the findings of our report, which will help shape the future of curriculum development, accreditation, and skills pathways. Next, we will make our voice heard, first in the media. I want us to raise the visibility of chemical engineering and chemical engineer across mainstream and social media. If you're not on TikTok yet, you might be by the end of the year. Supporting more IChemE members to be featured in national and international media will strengthen our sector's profile as a trusted, authoritative voice on issues of societal importance. We'll set up media training for a diverse cohort of high-impact spokespeople, helping them to highlight the sector's contribution around the world. And we'll track feedback on this increased visibility from partners and audiences, measuring and evaluating our impact. We'll also make our voice heard through public engagement. Let's not forget that the origin of our profession, and indeed the IChemE, can be traced back to one of the great public inquiries of the late 18th century. Potash was in short supply in Europe due to the American trade blockades. This led the French Academy of Sciences to offer a prize for the person who worked out how to manufacture soda ash from common salt. Nicolas Leblanc, a French doctor, won by developing a method that was quickly adopted by a growing number of factories in the UK. Unfortunately, the process led to wide-scale pollution, and this, combined with the need for a more scientific approach to scaling up of chemical experiments, led George Davis to found the Institution of Chemical Engineers. Davis also pioneered the idea that all industry processes can be broken down into smaller, manageable steps. This approach came to be known as unit operations. I want us to get back to the roots of public inquiry and create spaces and the opportunities for people from all walks of life to join in our discussions. There's a wealth of knowledge, insight, and experience out there for us to tap into. We'll create a program of public activities across the UK, Australasia, and Malaysia. They'll include pilot ChemEng cafes, open to the public in venues across the UK, such as the Glasgow Science Centre, Catalyst, and TechniQuest. Many people don't realise that discussions around some of the most pressing societal issues are rooted in chemical engineering principles. We want to deepen people's understanding of chemical engineering and how it affects them. So we'll pilot employer open days and develop content from existing virtual work experience programs, making it available to the public. And we'll build on and expand on the existing How I Did It resources across social media, video, the chemical engineer, and podcasts to maximize reach and impact. We'll continue to embed diversity and inclusion across IChemE, and we'll use benchmarking evidence and good practice to guide us. By 2029, we aim to be at level 4 of the Royal Academy of Engineering's EDI assessment framework. We'll have looked at ways to improve our culture, processes, and member experience, strengthening IChemE's reputation as an inclusive, diverse, professional body. The Culture and Inclusion Working Group, chaired by me, will advise on the rollout of improvements. The group includes staff, members, and diversity champions. We'll also expand our partnerships with EDI flagship organizations, and will support our member communities to champion EDI progress and share best practice. The team at IChemE will manage these activities alongside encouraging a wide range of members to get involved. I'm incredibly grateful to the CEO of IChemE, Yvonne Baker, and her team for the energy and enthusiasm they have shown in developing these initiatives with me. And while I remember that particular subject, there is somebody I would like to recognize who has served the IChemE for almost half a century. We had the honor of awarding Bev Garrett an honorary fellowship a few weeks ago. And we decided that we haven't embarrassed her quite enough yet. And so we decided we are going to, on behalf of the Board of Trustees, we have a little gift that we would like to give. So I'm going to quickly grab the gift and invite Bev to come forward to receive it. Congratulations. Thank you for being such an inspiration. It's going to be a busy year, one of learning, connection, strengthening our community by listening to all voices. I feel as excited today, age 51, about the future of our profession as I did, age 9, reading Mark of the Cobra. Chemical engineers have a vital role to play in the world's future, but our ability to ride the waves of change and lead society into that future depends on our collective readiness. We must elevate the profile of the profession and widen our discussion to involve the public. we must continue to prioritize diversity and inclusion across the profession. The past is in front of us and the future is behind us. All around us, we see the tremendous achievements of chemical engineers propelling civilization forwards. However, it is beholden on each of us to help prepare future generations of chemical engineers. That process begins now with us answering the questions: who are they? And are we doing enough to maximize their chances of success? Surely there cannot be a greater legacy than to inspire and support them on their journey, and in the process, make the world a truly better place. Thank you.
It's important for us as chemical engineers to recognise that we have to earn trust. The way in which we earn that trust and retain it is to be professional in everything that we do.
Work around professional ethics and listening to the wider public to bring public voice into the work that we do.
We shouldn't keep engineering in the dark. We should be illuminating pathways for our young people around chemical engineering.
It's quite important for us to get that message out there to inspire others to join chemical engineering and have that kind of impact on modern life.
Giving them the opportunity to make their own individual choices so they realise that opportunities like this are for them.
I'm really proud to be a chemical engineer because from an inclusion point of view, anyone could succeed.
There are multiple routes into our profession and we want to explore that more. Regardless of that personality type, there is a pathway for you into the chemical engineering sector.
Our young people can identify themselves in volunteers that come along to our events. They can see people from all different walks of life, all different backgrounds, all different ages, and it almost opens the door for them.
I'd like them to feel a sense of belonging in a profession, a community of role models, a community of mentors, a community of change makers, a community of problem solvers.
Chemical engineers are going to be front and centre of dealing with the big challenges we face as a society.
My main aim is to make sure that in another 104 years, even though probably none of us will be around, the IChemE is still doing everything it can to support chemical engineers wherever they are.
A longer version. I was going to say come into a cinema near you, but no, it's going to be on our YouTube channel. So yeah, I look forward to watching the whole thing. Thank you.
Thank you, Ollie, for such an interesting, thought-provoking and inspiring address.
Thank you.
I'm sure everyone here and watching online will want to take something away from what you've got for the year ahead. So I've got a few questions for you that will help us give an insight into your ambitions as the 85th President of IChemE. So let's start with the first one.
Okay.
Right. So in your speech, you included a quote from the Aymaran people: "The past is in front of us, the future is behind us." Can you expand slightly on this quote and how it relates to the future of chemical engineering?
I remember hearing the quote some time ago, and I remember thinking, like, there's that quote from Forrest Gump, says that don't make no sense. I remember thinking exactly that. And then as I started to think about it, it occurred to me that in that paradigm of thinking about time, the past and the future reflects people. So the past is every one of us, the engineers, the lawyers, the politicians, the people who are currently shaping society. The future are those people coming behind us. And it is part of our duty, and there is an obligation, there is a call, there's a beholding on us to pass on to them a fairer and a cleaner and a more sustainable world. And so when I think about the future of chemical engineering, I'm thinking that there are, we play such an important part in society. And we have the power, if you like, to use engineering principles to help shape that world. And so I think of the future, I think of mentoring, I think of actually just getting excited about the next generation.
Thank you. I mean, as a young engineer myself, I find it, obviously the future of chemical engineering is a big thing for me as well.
Yeah.
So thank you for that answer. My next question is around pathway diversity in the sector. So can you talk a bit more about the importance of there being multiple different pathways into chemical engineering and how we can all play a role in creating these?
That is a really important thing. Something I learned in sort of early days talking to young people in the inner city is that there are genuinely different ways in which people show brilliance and show excellence. And I think that we get the formula right when we are able to recognize those different pathways. So not everyone is academic in that sense. There are many people who choose to go through the apprenticeship route. And I've worked with a lot of engineers who came into engineering via the apprenticeship route. There just seems to be a more practical way in which they approach problems than people who have just gone through an academic route. And so what I'd like to do is as the IChemE is already doing with our EngTech initiatives. We had a great conversation with a lady named Debbie yesterday amongst the staff of the IChemE. And it's fascinating all of the partnerships that are in place with employers to start to recruit and professionally recognize quite a lot of people who have come in through the apprenticeship route. I think that is how we address issues around the skills gap. That's how we ensure that we are truly enjoying the ingenuity that everybody brings by ensuring that those pathways are available.
Yeah, no, that's fabulous. I've met so many apprentices through work and they're great, they're brilliant.
That's right.
Anyway, thank you for giving us a sneak preview of your priorities for the year ahead. I'm sure everyone here will want to take something away from that to act on and support your ambitions.
Yeah.
So I think that's all of the questions.
Oh.
So
thank you.
Before we close this event, I will be inviting Mark Apsey, 83rd President of IChemE, to propose the vote of thanks in a traditional way. However, before Mark speaks, I would like to thank him on behalf of the institution for all of his hard work over the last 3+ years. He has been an incredible support and a guiding light for the staff teams, trustees, and members in the run-up to, during, and beyond his presidential year. I invite you all to please join me in showing our appreciation for Mark.
Hi everyone, it's fantastic to be here again in this wonderful venue. Thank you all for joining here, both in person and online. Look, we're on the home stretch now, but there's a few thank yous to go, and I want you all to get ready for a bit of thank yous and plenty of clapping, right? Because we've got some amazing people to thank for the fact that we're here today. Firstly, and definitely not least, I really want to thank Cleo and Jordan for stepping up and guiding us through the proceedings this evening. I think you'll agree they've all been wonderful, so I would like to give them a huge round of applause. And then I'd like to add my welcome to our 85th President, Ollie. I think you'll all agree his presentation was particularly inspiring and thought-provoking. And I was particularly impressed at his professionalism at keeping going even as the live music struck up. And we understood how AI can help us design control valves while listening to some pleasant melodies coming back, and didn't miss a beat. The other thing I realised when Ollie was speaking is that I've actually been obviously walking backwards through my entire life so far. So I'm going to contemplate that a bit more as we go forward. So look. I want to say a huge thank you to the IChemE team for organising this. Having been behind the scenes for 3 years and seen what goes into putting on events like this, it doesn't happen by accident. It takes a huge amount of organisation and planning and work. So I think we really need to put our hands together again for our IChemE staff team. Thank you. I'd also just like to say a quick welcome to all the new trustees who've joined the board and all of the outgoing trustees and all the members and the fellows that are here. Giving up your time this evening to be here has made this event much more special, and I know it means a lot to all of the presidential team that everyone has turned up and is here and is listening and engaging and volunteering their own time. So thank you to all of you as well. Okay, a couple more if you'll let me, right? Because I know I'm standing between you and networking and probably some great conversations. But firstly, I just want to say a personal thank you to Rafaela as well for her time as president. She's been an amazing president. And over the last 3 years as a trustee, I've really got to know Rafaela very well and consider her a very good friend now from our work as volunteering together. And I think you'll all agree, and probably you heard in some of the comments already, how globally she took the role of president. I think Rafaela was probably everywhere and met as many people as she possibly could at every single event around the world. And I don't know how you did it, and I'm not sure how you managed to carry off such an amazing wardrobe throughout, but very well done. And I'd like us to put our hands together again for Rafaela. Thank you, Rafaela. And finally, I'd really like to thank Yvonne directly, our CEO. I met Yvonne when I became deputy president just over 3 years ago. And the work that she does, the professionalism she brings to the institution, the work of a CEO of a professional body is often behind the scenes, and it's thankless, and it perhaps isn't seen as much as it really ought to be. So I'm really keen to shine a light on that. And personally, and I think on behalf of all of us, I would like to say a huge thank you to you, Yvonne, for all of your hard work. I mean, it's been a real pleasure for me to work with you personally over the last 3 years. And someone said earlier, I'm retiring. Well, it's the first time I've ever been told I'm old enough to retire. And so I'm not quite sure how to take that. But Yvonne's already told me that actually as a past president, you never retire. So I'm sure I'll be back and around. So look, on that note, I'd really just like to say and finish by saying, and we've heard this already from many speakers, right? Chemical engineering has always been at the point where science becomes reality for the benefit of society. And I don't think, and we've had it said here again tonight, right, this has never mattered more than it does right now. Okay, the future of our profession is bright, and our work is essential if we are to address the global challenges we all face. And I want to thank you all for your continued professionalism and support of the institution. Thank you very much.
Okay, so this is the final stretch of this great evening. So we rejoin you now on stage to conclude the formal part of the evening and the presidential address of Dr. Ollie Folayan, the 85th president of the Institute of Chemical Engineers. To those of you who are here in person, please feel free to join us next door for drinks and nibbles. Those who have joined online, thank you very much for tuning in and enjoy the rest of your day or evening. Why not raise a glass, or for those of you joining in other time zones, a beverage of your choice to Ollie, Folayan, Rafaela, and Joanne. Yeah. Let's go.